So we get the news last week that Alex Padilla was entering the portal, right? And then we get the news that Keegan Johnson's entering the portal. And that one, people, it didn't surprise people. By the way, a lot of the misconceptions people have about Keegan Johnson are quite frankly, that misconceptions. All right. People had this, there was this narrative kind of throughout the year that he was leaving. And although it seems like that is correct, at the time it was not. From what I've been told, he was locked in. He just was dealing. He couldn't get on the field. He couldn't stay healthy. Couldn't get on the field. But so again, that didn't surprise people. The Arlen Bruce one surprised more people, but there were rumors around that one as well. So those are three guys, right? And then you hear that Gavin Williams is leaving, and you say, okay, he's he kind of lost his starting job. Caleb Johnson's emerged. LaShawn Williams has looked good. They've got Jazzian Patterson. And then this week, I mean, this has been weird. Now, Reggie Bracey didn't, that he's a backup safety. I think he could have maybe had a chance to start next year, although Xavier Wampa's coming, I'm sure, for that starting role. But to lose Justin Jacobs this morning, or it'll appear, again, we're assuming these guys are leaving because they've entered the portal. They could return. But for Jacobs to enter the portal, and now Terry Roberts to enter the portal, now we're starting to chip away at defensive guys. I don't know. That I know a lot of people in the Iowa media, and I'm talking about the formal Iowa media. And Mark, you know what I mean when I say the formal Iowa media. People who are writing for newspapers, people who are writing for Hawkeye websites and Rivals and 247 Sports. I'm not pinpointing anybody specifically, but a lot of these Iowa beat people have, and I'm not saying it's an agenda, but they have made a point to try to settle people down, right? To kind of quelch the fears of people. A lot of them were warning people, well, just so you're aware, there's going to be people entering the portal, but Iowa's going into the portal themselves. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. I've seen that so much, Mark. Just settle down. Things are going to even out. I don't know why. Why is that the media's responsibility to do, Mark? Why is that the media's responsibility to think for other people? I don't understand that. Second thing I'll say on this is I think the collateral damage that's being done right now by people leaving is significant. And whether Iowa is active in the portal, and Mark, they are. They're going after guys in the portal right now. That's obvious. Regardless of the number of guys they're going after, you cannot sit here and say things will even out. And I literally saw that from an Iowa media member who will remain unnamed here just a little bit ago, that things will even out. How can you say that? Iowa's going after guys, and I'm not doubting that some of these guys are D1 talents, but they got a wide receiver from Hillsdale College, which is a Division II school, a wide receiver, Isaac Tesla, who's visited Iowa State, I believe visited Iowa already. They're in on him. They're in on a kid from Charleston Southern, Seth Anderson, who, I think was Big South Player of the Year down there. Good prospect, but the FCS guy. Mark, are we counting on Isaac Tesla from Division II and an FCS kid to replace the production from Arlen Bruce and Keegan Johnson? And yes, I understand Keegan Johnson didn't play this year, but that's a massive loss to a wide receiving core. I mean, we're talking about a 4-star kid who could have went a lot of places and already gotten offers since he's been in the portal the last 24 hours. He's already got offers from Notre Dame, Kansas State, Nebraska, and he's got more coming. I know we're all very excited about Cade McNamara, and I was right at the forefront of that last week. First of all, let me remind people, I warned people last week the same thing that other people have warned them. I said, there's going to be, brace yourselves. There's going to be some serious movement here. And I had, gotten some scuttlebutt certainly on Bruce and on Keegan, and a couple more of these guys, but not to this extent. I did not expect it. We already have 9 guys in if you count walk-on wide receiver Jordan Cum, Mark, and the portal window has been open for like 36 hours. we got 9 guys in, Mark. We had how many guys last? Was it 4 or 5 for the entire cycle? And they were Quavon Matthews and Deuce Hogan, and I'm trying to think who else. Desmond Hudson, who went to UNI. Iowa has got guys in the portal who are going to be playing at other Power 5 schools, Mark. Keegan Johnson's a Power 5 receiver. Arlen Bruce is a Power 5 receiver. Justin Jacobs is an NFL linebacker. Terry Roberts. That one's confounding to an extent, but I can also understand it because I always thought Terry Roberts was maybe a little bit better than everybody thought. I don't know. I mean, he busted his butt on special teams. When he played on defense, he was phenomenal. But even, last year when Hankins went down, Jamari Harris was ahead of him on the depth chart. And then this year in spring practice, and I believe even maybe in fall camp, Jamari was listed as the starter ahead of a much older Terry Roberts. So I'm not saying that's a reason he's leaving, but I don't know. I think Terry Roberts will go somewhere and play. And if he wants to, it'll be at the Power 5 level. I mean, who wouldn't take an Iowa corner who's projected to potentially be a starter, who's also an absolute star on special teams? Who wouldn't take him? He's an Erie, Pennsylvania native. Maybe he'll go to Penn State. I mean, it's just a fascinating series of events. And today is the first day that it's made me feel a little uneasy because I just like other people, I'm aware that I was in the portal. I just don't know if we really can buy into the idea that everything's going to be okay because they're going to reload. That they're believe me, Kirk and this staff, they're aware that they were aware these things were going to happen. So this is not Kirk and the staff doing this because they are choosing to evolve. No, they are being forced to evolve. And Mark, that is a scary proposition. And you hope they can be successful. The one guy that everybody was high on, this kid from Alabama, Trayshawn Holden, he is not coming to Iowa. All right. He's got some baggage, it sounds like, from Alabama. And he's not going to be recruited by Iowa moving forward. So that's, that was a guy people thought maybe Iowa had a shot at. So I don't know, man. You give me your thoughts, Mark. You've kind of monitored the landscape across the country over the last 2 days.
As I alluded to off the top, Iowa was generally insulated from this last year, much like Clemson. And some of the things that you stated reminds me of what's going on at Clemson, where they are going to be forced to be more active in the transfer portal based on the number of subtractions in the transfer portal. So Iowa appears to be in the same place. This transfer portal has gone from a collection of quarterbacks who know that they can play somewhere, who know that they are good enough to go somewhere and either have a shot or just practically be given the job, and a collection of players who are just stuck behind star players or 2 and 3 and 4 wide receivers or linebackers that are particular elite unit, to just decisions made by players where, from a playing standpoint, that there's no issue there. There's not an issue in terms of that player being valued. You just ripped off 2 names on defense where there's absolutely no issue in terms of their status on the team. They are 2 of the best players on the team. And then the offensive players have solid roles, significant roles on the team. So I do think that some of this is going on all over the place to some degree. So the increase in numbers is almost everywhere, but it's the level and the number of significant players that I'm not seeing anywhere else except Texas A&M, except for when there's a coaching change, some of those schools where there are coaching changes, and that happened last offseason as well. And Texas A&M comes to mind. They are losing, waves of players off defensive recruiting classes that were tremendous over the last 2 or 3 years. This needs to be clarified. So yes, this is happening everywhere. Not this that's going on to this extent with this many good players and impact players. No, it's not. But yes, the transfer portal is affecting everyone. To say it's only a few programs that are losing important players is insane. I didn't say it's not impacting dozens of programs with important players, but not this many players. We named about 6 to 7 impact players on this team. Virginia Tech has already lost 12 players. Not familiar with their situation, but we'll speak to that in just a second. Miami, 13 players. Understand the Miami situation. Miami is going to bring in close to a top 5 recruiting class this year and brought in like the 8th or 9th recruiting class last year. This works both ways, Chase. In the Miami situation, I can tell you for sure that with just about all of those 13 players, that was not those players choosing to leave. That was Mario Cristobal sitting down with those players and saying, you're going to be a special teams player. You're going to be a 4th linebacker. You don't have a role on this team. Sorry, it would be best for you to move on. So it works both ways.